Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Mike, and today I'm going to share my amazing journey about moving to New York City. I've been here for 3 months now, and there's so much to tell you about the biggest adventure of my life. Let me start from the very beginning. I arrived at John F. Kennedy International Airport on a cold January morning. I'll never forget stepping out of the airport with my 2 heavy suitcases and a backpack. The temperature was 25 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about -4 degrees Celsius, and I wasn't wearing a warm enough jacket. My first lesson about New York winters: always dress warmer than you think you need to. Getting from the airport to Manhattan was my first challenge. I had 3 choices: take a yellow taxi, book a ride-sharing service like Uber, or use public transportation. Since I was trying to save money, I decided to be brave and take the air train to the subway. A friendly airport employee explained that I needed to buy a Metro card. That's what we use for public transportation here. It costs $2.90 per ride, and you can add as much money as you want to the card. The subway ride was quite an experience. I had to change trains twice, and let me tell you, carrying 2 suitcases up and down the stairs was not easy. I saw many people rushing around, musicians playing instruments on the platforms, and colorful advertisements everywhere. The subway car was crowded, and I tried to make myself as small as possible with my luggage. A kind elderly lady saw me looking confused at the subway map and helped me count the stops to my station. I had booked a room at a hostel in Manhattan for my first week. It was in a neighborhood called Upper West Side near Central Park. The hostel wasn't fancy, but it was clean and the staff was friendly. I shared a room with 3 other travelers, one from Brazil, one from Japan, and one from Germany. Even though we all spoke different levels of English, we managed to have interesting conversations every evening about our experiences in New York. Finding an apartment was my top priority. I quickly learned some important vocabulary related to housing: rent, security deposit, broker's fee, utilities, lease, roommate, and furnished versus unfurnished. The prices shocked me at first. A tiny studio apartment in Manhattan could cost more than $2,000 per month. That's when I discovered that many young people live in outer boroughs like Brooklyn, Queens, or the Bronx, where rent is more affordable. After looking at 8 different apartments and meeting many potential roommates, I finally found a good option. It's a shared apartment in Astoria, Queens, with 2 other people: Tom, who works as a graphic designer, and Maria, who is a nurse. The rent is $1,000 per month, including utilities, electricity, heating, and internet. I have a small bedroom with a window facing a quiet street. The best part? It's only a 15-minute subway ride to my workplace in Manhattan. Moving in was exciting, but also expensive. I needed to buy many things: a bed, sheets, pillows, blankets, towels, hangers for my clothes, and some basic kitchen items. I discovered several useful stores: IKEA for furniture, Target for household items, and Marshall's for good deals on bedding and towels. Tom and Maria were very helpful. They even lent me some dishes and cooking utensils until I could buy my own. The first week in my new apartment was full of learning experiences. I had to figure out how to do laundry in the building's basement. It costs $2.50 for washing and $2.50 for drying. Where to buy groceries, There's a great supermarket 3 blocks away. And how to sort the recycling. New York is very strict about separating paper, plastic, and regular trash. Let me tell you about my neighborhood. Astoria is amazing. It's like a little world of its own. On my street alone, there's a Greek restaurant, an Italian cafe, a Mexican taco shop, and a small Korean grocery store. The diversity of New York is incredible. You hear different languages everywhere you go, and you can find food from any country you can imagine. I've been exploring the area during my free time. There's a beautiful park nearby called Astoria Park, where you can see the East River and the Manhattan skyline. On weekends, people have picnics, play sports, or just relax on the grass. There's even an outdoor swimming pool that opens in summer. I can't wait to try it. Getting to know the local businesses has been fun. There's a friendly barber who charges $20 for a haircut, a dry cleaner who always greets everyone with a big smile, and a small bakery where I buy fresh bread every morning. The owner of the bakery, Mrs. Chen, has lived in the neighborhood for 30 years and always gives me an extra pastry when I stop by. One of the most important things I did in my first month was getting a phone plan. I learned about different carriers, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and their plans. I chose one that costs $50 per month and includes unlimited calls, texts, and internet data. Having a working phone with internet access is essential in New York. I use it for maps, checking train times, ordering food, and staying in touch with family and friends. Speaking of staying in touch, the time difference between New York and my home country is challenging. When it's morning here, it's evening there. I usually call my parents every Sunday at 9 a.m. my time, which is 9 p.m. their time. We use video calls to chat, and I love showing them around my apartment and neighborhood using my phone's camera. Learning to manage money has been crucial. I opened a bank account at a local bank branch. They explained about checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, and online banking. I created a monthly budget to keep track of my expenses. Rent and utilities, $1,000. Phone plan, $50. Transportation, monthly Metro card, $130. Groceries, about $400. Entertainment and eating out, $200. Savings, whatever I can manage. Work has been another exciting part of my new life. I found a job as an assistant chef at a busy restaurant in Manhattan. The interview was nerve-wracking. I was worried about my English, but the head chef was very understanding. He said what mattered most was my cooking skills and willingness to learn. I'll tell you more about my work experiences in the next episode. Weather in New York has been quite an adventure. In these 3 months, I've experienced snow, rain, strong winds, and sunny days. Sometimes all in the same week. I've learned to always check the weather forecast and dress in layers. I bought a warm winter coat, on sale for $80, waterproof boots, $60, and an umbrella that can survive strong winds, $15. The most challenging days were during my first big snowstorm. The city got 12 inches of snow. Everything looked beautiful. But walking was difficult, and some trains were delayed. I learned new words like slippery, icy, a snowplows, and black ice. My roommate Tom taught me to walk like a penguin on icy sidewalks to avoid falling. One thing that surprised me about New York is how helpful people can be. Yes, everyone seems busy and walks fast, but if you ask for help, most people are happy to assist. Last week, I got lost trying to find a specific store, and a stranger not only gave me directions, but walked with me for 2 blocks to make sure I found it. I'm also learning about safety in the city. My roommates taught me some important tips. Always be aware of your surroundings. Keep your wallet in your front pocket. Don't use your phone while walking late at night. Know which areas to avoid after dark. Keep your apartment door locked at all times. Despite some challenges, I'm falling in love with New York more each day. The energy of the city is incredible. There's always something happening, always something new to discover. Every morning when I wake up, I feel grateful for this opportunity to live in one of the most exciting cities in the world. I work at The Garden Table, a busy restaurant in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood. It's a beautiful place with large windows, plants hanging from the ceiling, and wooden tables that can seat about 80 people. We serve a mix of American and Mediterranean cuisine, and we're especially busy during lunch and dinner hours. My typical workday begins at 7 in the morning. I take the N train from Astoria to 23rd Street Station, then walk 2 blocks to the restaurant. The morning shift starts early because we need to prepare everything fresh for the day. When I arrive, the first thing I do is change into my work uniform. White chef's coat, black pants, comfortable non-slip shoes, and of course my chef's hat, or toque, as we call it in the kitchen. The kitchen staff is like a small family. There's Chef David, our head chef, who's been cooking for 20 years. He's strict but fair, and he's teaching me so many things about American cuisine. Then there's Maria, our pastry chef, who makes the most amazing desserts. Her chocolate lava cake is famous among our regular customers. Carlos handles the grill station, Sophie is in charge of salads and cold dishes, and I work mainly at the prep station and help wherever needed. Let me tell you about our kitchen vocabulary. I've learned so many new words. Mise en place, getting all ingredients ready before cooking. Sauté, to cook food quickly in a little hot oil. Blanch, to cook vegetables briefly in boiling water. Al dente, pasta cooked firm to the bite. Garnish, decorative items added to a dish. Expedite, to coordinate and speed up food service. A typical morning starts with checking our delivery orders. Fresh vegetables, meat, and fish arrive early, and we need to inspect everything for quality. Then we begin our prep work, chopping vegetables, making sauces, preparing marinades, and getting everything organized for the day. Chef David always says, "A organized kitchen is a successful kitchen." Lunch service starts at 11:30 and runs until 3 o'clock. This is when things get really exciting. Orders start coming in through our ticket system. We hear the printer going beep beep constantly. Everyone moves quickly but carefully. We have special phrases we use. Behind you when walking behind someone. Hot pan coming through when carrying hot items. Yes, chef, to acknowledge instructions. 86'd when we run out of something. All day to indicate the total number of a particular dish needed. The lunch rush is intense but exhilarating. We might serve over 200 customers during this time. I've learned to multitask. I might be chopping herbs for one dish while keeping an eye on a sauce for another. Sometimes Chef David calls out, "Mike, I need those vegetables now, and I have to move even faster. After lunch service, we have a staff meal together. This is one of my favorite parts of the day. We all sit down for about 30 minutes and eat together. Sometimes Chef David lets us experiment and cook something special for the staff meal. Last week, I made a dish from my home country and everyone loved it. The afternoon is quieter. We clean up from lunch, start preparing for dinner service, and work on special projects. Chef David often uses this time to teach us new techniques. Yesterday, he showed me how to make the perfect hollandaise sauce. It's all about the right temperature and whisking speed. Dinner service starts at 5 and goes until 10:30. The atmosphere is different from lunch, more romantic, with dimmed lights and candles on the tables. We serve more complicated dishes during dinner, and presentation becomes even more important. I'm learning about plating techniques, how to arrange food beautifully on the plate. One of the most challenging but rewarding parts of my job is learning to communicate clearly in a fast-paced environment. When it's busy, there's no time for long sentences. We use short, precise phrases. If I don't understand something, I've learned to say immediately, "Could you please repeat that, chef?" It's better to ask than to make a mistake. The restaurant has also become my social hub. After our shift ends, we sometimes go to a nearby diner for coffee or to a local bar for drinks. That's when I hear the most interesting stories. Carlos tells us about growing up in Mexico City. Sophie shares stories about her culinary school in Paris. And Maria talks about her grandmother's secret recipes from Italy. I've made friends with some of our regular customers, too. There's Mr. Johnson, who comes every Tuesday for our grilled salmon, and always asks how I'm doing. Ms. Rodriguez, a food critic for a local blog, often chats with me about different cooking styles. These conversations have helped improve my English tremendously. Working in the restaurant has taught me a lot about American culture. I've learned about tipping customs, usually 18 to 20% of the bill, popular American dishes, like mac and cheese, which we make with 4 different types of cheese, and special occasions like Restaurant Week, when we offer special fixed-price menus. The job can be physically demanding. I'm on my feet for 8 to 10 hours a day, lifting heavy pots, moving quickly, and working in a hot kitchen. I've learned to wear comfortable shoes with good support, stay hydrated, and take short breaks when possible. Chef David always reminds us to take care of ourselves because a tired chef is a dangerous chef. Sometimes things go wrong, and that's when I learn the most. Last week, I accidentally oversalted a sauce. Instead of panicking, I remembered Chef David's advice. In the kitchen, there's always a solution. He showed me how to fix it by adding more ingredients and adjusting the flavors. Now I know what to do if it happens again. The best part of my job is seeing customers enjoy the food we prepare. Sometimes they ask to speak to the kitchen staff to compliment a dish. Last month, an elderly couple celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary at our restaurant. They loved their meal so much that they asked to meet the kitchen team. Moments like these make all the hard work worthwhile. I'm also taking some extra cooking classes on my days off. The restaurant encourages us to keep learning, and Chef David recommended a culinary program at a local community college. I attend classes twice a week in the morning before my shift. We're learning about American regional cuisines, everything from New England clam chowder to Southern barbecue. I'm also excited to share my adventures exploring this amazing city and all the cultural experiences I've had. There's so much to tell you about. Let's start with Central Park. It's like a magical green paradise in the middle of the concrete jungle. The park is huge, covering 843 acres. That's about 341 hectares. I try to spend time there every weekend, and I'm still discovering new places within it. There's the famous Belvedere Castle, the peaceful Turtle Pond, the beautiful Bethesda Fountain, and my favorite spot, Sheep Meadow, a large green field where people relax, have picnics, and play frisbee. The best thing about Central Park is that it changes with the seasons. In winter, I saw people ice skating at Woolman Rink and children sledding on the hills after snowfall. In spring, beautiful cherry blossoms appeared, and the park filled with photographers. Now I'm looking forward to summer concerts on the Great Lawn and outdoor movies under the stars. New York's museums have become my favorite places to spend free time. Many people don't know this, but several museums have pay-what-you-wish hours or free admission days. I've learned to check museum websites for these special times. The Metropolitan Museum of Art, we call it the Met, is overwhelming. I've been there 4 times and still haven't seen everything. Let me tell you about my first visit to the Met. I was completely lost in the huge building until a friendly security guard gave me a map and suggested starting with the Egyptian collection. I spent 3 hours looking at ancient artifacts, beautiful paintings, and impressive sculptures. The best part? I sat on the famous Met steps afterward, eating a hot dog from a street vendor and watching people go by. Speaking of food, New York's food scene is incredible. Besides working in a restaurant, I love trying different cuisines on my days off. In Chinatown, I discovered dim sum, small portions of different dishes served in bamboo baskets. My co-worker Sophie taught me how to use chopsticks properly, and now I'm pretty good at it. In Little Italy, I found the best cannoli I've ever tasted, and in Jackson Heights, Queens, I tried authentic Indian curry for the first time. Street food is a big part of New York culture. Hot dog carts, halal food trucks, pretzel vendors, they're everywhere. My favorite is a food truck near my workplace that sells falafel. The owner, Ahmed, always gives me an extra piece of pita bread and teaches me Arabic words while I wait for my food. A typical food truck meal costs between $7 and $12, which is much cheaper than eating in restaurants. I've also been exploring New York's famous neighborhoods. Each one has its own personality. Soho has beautiful cast-iron buildings and fancy boutiques. Greenwich Village feels like a small town with its tree-lined streets. Williamsburg in Brooklyn is full of street art and vintage shops. Harlem has amazing soul food restaurants and historic jazz clubs. Transportation around the city has become much easier now that I understand the subway system. I bought a monthly Metro card for $130, which gives me unlimited rides. I've learned some subway survival skills. Always check for service changes on weekends. Keep your Metro card handy to avoid holding up the line. Move to the center of the car during rush hour. Never get on an empty subway car when all others are full. There's usually a reason. One of my favorite New York experiences has been attending free events. In summer, there are free concerts in parks, outdoor movie screenings, and cultural festivals almost every weekend. I downloaded an app called NYC Parks Events that lists all these activities. Last week, I watched a Shakespeare play in Bryant Park. I didn't understand every word, but the atmosphere was magical. The city's holiday celebrations are spectacular. I was here for St. Patrick's Day in March, when the streets filled with people wearing green. The parade went on for hours with bagpipes playing and dancers performing. My roommate Tom explained that New York celebrates cultural holidays from all over the world. There's the Chinese New Year parade, the Puerto Rican Day parade, and many others. Shopping in New York is an adventure in itself. I've learned about different types of stores. Department stores like Macy's and Century 21 for clothes and accessories, discount stores like TJ Maxx for good deals, farmers markets for fresh produce, thrift stores for second-hand treasures, dollar stores for basic household items. One of my most interesting discoveries was Brooklyn Flea Market, a huge outdoor market where people sell antiques, vintage clothes, and handmade items. I found a beautiful old camera there for $25, and the seller spent 20 minutes teaching me how to use it. Now, photography has become my new hobby. New York's architecture constantly amazes me. I took a free walking tour. You just tip the guide what you think it's worth, and learned about famous buildings. The Empire State Building with its Art Deco style, the Chrysler Building's beautiful spire, the modern One World Trade Center, the historic Flatiron Building. The tour guide taught us interesting vocabulary related to architecture: facade, cornice, gargoyle, spire, terracotta. She also shared fascinating stories about how these buildings were constructed. Did you know the Empire State Building was built in just 410 days? I've had some funny cultural misunderstandings, too. Once, someone told me, "See you later," and I waited for them to come back, not realizing it's just a way of saying goodbye. Another time, I was confused when a cashier asked me, "How are you?" In my country, strangers don't usually ask about your well-being. Now I know it's just a polite greeting. Learning to understand different American accents has been challenging but fun. New Yorkers have their own unique way of speaking. Coffee sounds like coffee. Water becomes water. Houston Street is pronounced Houston. Forest Hills sounds like Forest Hills. The city has also taught me about weather vocabulary. New York has 4 distinct seasons. Spring, mild, rainy, cherry blossoms everywhere. Summer, hot, humid, perfect for rooftop parties. Fall or autumn, cool, colorful leaves, Halloween decorations. Winter, cold, snowy, beautiful holiday lights. I've learned to check the weather forecast every morning and plan accordingly. New Yorkers have a saying, "If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes." The weather can change quickly here, so most people carry both sunglasses and umbrellas in their bags. One of the most valuable things I've learned is how to handle emergency situations. I saved important phone numbers: 911 for emergencies, 311 for city information and complaints, my local police precinct, my doctor's office, the nearest hospital. Living in New York has made me more confident in speaking English. I practice everywhere. with shopkeepers, taxi drivers, museum guides, and random people in parks. Most New Yorkers are happy to chat and share their stories. I've learned that making mistakes is okay. It's part of the learning process. Looking back at these 3 months, I can't believe how much I've learned and experienced. New York is not just a city, it's millions of stories happening at the same time, and now my story is part of it too. Every day brings new adventures, new words to learn, and new friends to meet. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to English Hub if you haven't already. Also, share it with your friends who might find it useful. Together, let's keep growing and learning. See you in the next video. Happy learning.